Well, so I got sent this earlier on in the day, and I just decided why not make a little video just to showcase yet another example of this odious individual here, Melina, who is obviously working with Education Scotland, created a program called the Building Racial Literacy Program, which obviously, if you go onto their website that was created previous or prior to her becoming a member of a multitude of panels with the intention to reform Scottish academia, the curriculum in and of itself, to effectively have a quote-unquote critical race theory framework. Their anti-racist educator website, you can quite clearly see that it's critical race theory that they're espousing when they talk about anti-racism. And quite often on Twitter, not that I use it that often, I am going to make a bit more effort in the future, I believe, if I can be arsed, to start using it again. But if you go onto their Twitter accounts, you go through all these different organisations, the amount of nonsense that they peddle and push and share amongst each other, it's grotesque, because at the end of the day, it is children that they are targeting fundamentally. For the most part, anyway. Not limited to, but for the most part. But nonetheless, this got sent to me earlier on. I just want to showcase this little exchange here before I click on what you can see on the screen, which is her tweet, which, as you can see, says the Scottish Government right there. So she says, thanks to our presenters at the session on diversity in the teaching profession, and she tags Kajida Mohammed, my favourite boo-boo, and two others who I don't actually know, admittedly. We've got Rosemary Grady, who's a lecturer, and we've got Kevin Brack, who's also a lecturer. So anyway, this tweet here. So, promoting there to be less Scottish teachers in Scotland is anti-racist. I can't imagine being so filled with hatred that I would migrate to a country and act in such a way. Truly despicable. How do you think that she responded to this tweet here? Oh, I wonder. Let's see. So only white people can be Scottish? Question mark. I can't imagine being so filled with hatred for black people and people of colour. You know, this is what these people always do. They revert instantaneously onto the defensive, and they gaslight you. You know? At what point in this tweet here was anything mentioned that could be misconstrued as hateful or hatred in any capacity? Nothing at all. But second of all, so only white people can be Scottish? Yes. Yeah. It's as simple as that, really. This term black Scottish or Asian Scottish, it's nonsensical. Why is it that these people can come to our country and they can hijack our identity while simultaneously being able to cling onto their own identity? You know, if we're all one and we're all Scottish, then this crap really shouldn't matter, for the most part. But this isn't how these people operate. In fact, they go so far as to say that a colourblind society is indeed problematic. That's a quote from her website, the Anti-Racist Educator, which I mentioned at the start of the video. But this, again, so only white people can be Scottish. It should go without saying. But this obsession that they have with white people, because the Anti-Racist Educator, the same way that their new programme that they've got, is all about whiteness theory, which is, it's a derivative of critical race theory. It's all about white privilege, white fragility, whiteness this, whiteness that, white supremacy. You know, white. It's always about that. When the reality of the matter is, remove the label of white, and what you will see is that Scottish people aren't Scottish people, because the same principle would apply if they were advocating for more Polish people to get into Scottish academia. The same tweet would be applicable. Just because we're white, the label that we're all, you know, the umbrella term, just because we're both white, well, do you think I'd be happy with them pushing to force out Scottish teachers in favour of Polish? I wouldn't be. It's nothing to do with the fact that they're not white. This is how these individuals always operate. So let's have a wee look at this actual thing here, because it really is just a joke that these people get away with this nonsense. It really is. So this is the Padlet that she spoke of, because she says we put a Padlet from the session to help everyone take up the challenge. And what challenge? You can't be what you can't see. So, with the underrepresentation of minority ethnic educators in Scotland, how can we recruit and retain a diverse education workforce for every learner to thrive? So, again, they're constantly and actively pushing to quote unquote diversify the teaching workforce, or the education workforce as they call it here, aka they're trying to shove in by hook or by crook more brown and black teachers, because they're not making this case. They're not making the case for Polish. I'll just use them as an example again. This isn't what they're doing here. They're advocating for brown and black people, because that's all these individuals ever advocate for, at the expense of our own. May I add? The 2022 Diversity in the Teaching Profession annual data report showed that 1.8% of teachers identify as being from a minority ethnic background, still far from the 4% target by 2030. Now let's just go into this a wee bit. So I'm just going to stick to the Scottish Government's website. I've covered some of this before in the past, but just for anybody that's not aware. Diversity in the Teaching Profession annual data report, May 2022. Right? Calm down briefly. In November of 2018, the Diversity in the Teaching Profession Working Group, chaired by Professor Rowena Arshole, published its Teaching in a Diverse Scotland report. The report was commissioned by the Strategic Board for Teaching Education following the publication of the National Race Equality Framework. The aim of the group's work was to increase the number of teachers from underrepresented backgrounds at all levels in Scottish schools, BAMES. Subsequently, the working group was reconvened and expanded again with Professor Arshole as a chair, meeting regularly from June 2019 to March 2022 to support the implementation of the recommendations made within said report. This bit's of interest here though, right? At the time of the original report's publication, 1.4% of the teaching workforce came from a minority ethnic background. The Scottish Government accepted all of Arshole's recommendations, which included the ambitious aim that by 2030, what is that number there? The number of minority ethnic teachers in Scottish schools should be at least 4%. See this? At least 4%. Before I even pick apart the 4% and where it comes from, at least. So it's underrepresentation, and it's an issue that must be remedied if it's below 4%. But if it's 4% or above, because as it says there, at least 4%, that's acceptable. So if they were overrepresented, which is a bit of a stretch given the amount of BAMEs that were in the country at the time, and we know it's increasing exponentially year on year, but it's still a bit of an ask for now, because you've got to put it into perspective here. How many teachers are there in Scotland? That's the point. Oh, my phone's going. Typical. The house phone isn't going all day the minute I start recording. Point being, though, put it into perspective. How many teachers are there in Scotland? Right? I don't have the figure to hand, but I have calculated this before on a video somewhere. How many teachers are there in Scotland? How many BAMEs are there in Scotland? Right? Is it just a possibility that maybe, just maybe, out of all the BAMEs that are in the country, only a small percentage of them actually want to be teachers, you know? Anyway, where does this come from though? The 4%, right? So we've already seen at least. So overrepresentation is fine. If it was 10% BAME, would we then be within our rights to complain that they're overrepresented? No. But it's fine for them to complain that they're underrepresented, and then they start to advocate, due to their underrepresentation, that they need to have at least equal representation, if not more. But where does the 4% come from? Well, they actually tell you. I don't even need to tell you. They tell you themselves, as it says here. Which is on par, the 4% is on par with the Scottish minority ethnic population from the 2011 census. Right? So, in the 2011 census, it was 96% whites, 4% BAME. This is what they're going by. In fact, they go so far, I'm not entirely sure if it's in this one per se, but it's in other videos that I've made, but take my word for it. If you don't believe me, go and look at my older videos pertaining to this very subject, about diversity in the teaching workforce. They say that when the next census comes out, they might have to update that 4% figure, because this is proportionate representation. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that the next census showcases that Scotland's now all of a sudden 90% white and 10% BAME. This figure here would have to be adapted to 10%, and it would say at least 10%. It's a red herring. It's a red herring because as the country becomes less and less white and more brown, or as they call it, diverse, stands to reason that everything has to match that. So over time and in time, we will have less and less power and less quote-unquote representation if you wish to go down that route. You know? Do you think there'll be programs put into place for us? No, of course not. But I just find it remarkable that this actually comes from the Scottish Government's website. They pander to these people to no end. So, let's see. Summarisation. There has been a very small increase in the number of... But this is the part that they never really tell you. There's been a very small increase. So it's happening naturally. It's happening the way that it should because of the amount of BAMEs, which is quite small for now. But it's happening slowly. It's happening slowly, and it's happening at small steps, but it's happening naturally of its own accords. There's nothing in the way that's preventing them. If there was, then there wouldn't be an increase. There's been a very small increase in the number of minority ethnic teachers over time. For example, in 2021, the full-time equivalent number of teachers from minority ethnic backgrounds across the whole profession was 945, or 1.8% of the workforce. This has increased from 725, or 1.8 of the workforce, sorry. This has increased from 725, or 1.4 of the workforce. The data also shows that there is a higher proportion of new teachers coming into the profession from minority ethnic backgrounds compared to the overall teaching population. In addition, 2 local authorities are showing slight increases, particularly with the secondary sector, in the percentage of teachers who identify as coming from a minority ethnic background. However, these are very small increases, and across the teaching workforce, minority ethnic teachers continue to be significantly underrepresented. And what do they mean by underrepresented? Well, at least 4%, yeah? At least. So until such a time, they'd be fine if they were overrepresented. That would be fucking fine. But they're not. Let's see. What else we've got? Let's go to next steps. The Scottish Government accepts that the commitment to achieving the target of having at least 4%, at least, is ambitious, particularly as we emerge from the CUF. To meet the target, it is estimated that between 8% and 10% of all new teachers would need to come from minority ethnic groups. This would require a significant shift from the current position. In 2021, less than 3% of prohibitioners on the teaching induction scheme came from an ethnic minority background. It is possible that when the target is updated following the release of the 2022 census statistics... Oh, there you go. Here we go. It is possible that when the target is updated following the release of the 2022 census statistics on Scotland's minority ethnic population, it will be even more challenging to achieve. What do they mean by that? Well, the figures discussed in the opening section of this paper will need to be reviewed with the publication of the 2022 census to establish whether Scotland's minority ethnic population has increased, which it will have, from the 4% level in 2011. The 2022 census data will begin to emerge in early 2023. And what do they mean by this? Well, they're alluding to, that if it's above 4%, then they're going to have to update their ambitious targets. It's a fucking joke, like. What else have we got? The Scottish Government commits to ensuring that the diversity of Scottish society is recognised and represented. So... Anyway, back to this. So, the Diversity in the Teaching Profession annual data report shows that 1.8% of teachers identify as being from a minority ethnic background, still far from the 4% target by 2030. Starting off from initial teacher education, this seminar will explore the barriers. Oh, the barriers, despite there being a slight increase. So, can't be that many barriers, because if there was barriers, then there wouldn't be a slight increase, would there? It's almost as if you're fucking lying. The only proof that they have to go on is underrepresentation. But they never take into consideration they're a minority. It's to be expected. If it was anything less than underrepresentation, then it would be questionable in and of itself. If the country, let's just go by that 4% figure, is 4% non-white, they believe that then every institution should be at least 4% non-white. It's a joke. This seminar will explore the barriers faced by adult learners, key drop-off points, and ways in which these can be addressed according to the Scottish Government's working group looking at diversity in the teaching profession and education workforce. So there's a few things that I could go through here. I will leave the link for you to look through it yourself. I'm not entirely sure if the website's not loading properly or if it's just very badly planned out. Yeah, you can scroll a wee bit, but it just seems a bit iffy. Anyway, I clicked on this one here, first of all. And we have the General Teaching Council for Scotland. These people, of course, effectively set the professional standards, as it says there, which are the equivalent of rules that all teachers across Scotland must adhere to. They've now working with Sustainable Scotland or Sustainable Development Scotland, and they've effectively embedded into the new and improved updated professional standards that all teachers across Scotland must promote everything Agenda 2030 related. They've also got things along the lines of social justice, which of course includes things such as normalising mass immigration or immigration in and of itself, as well as eco change, social justice, and all this nonsense. So it says here, equality and diversity. Our schools and learning communities are enriched with a diverse mix of people, aka non-Scottish, with different experiences and from different cultures and backgrounds, because this is 21st century and this is what makes Scotland, and there's what I was on about there, learning for sustainability. The General Teaching Council for Scotland has developed this Equality and Diversity Hub to support teachers engaging with the professional standards to develop their professional knowledge and understanding of equality and diversity, engage with the professional requirement to promote equality and diversity. See what I mean? But these are rules. These are rules, the professional standards that they must adhere to. They have to promote equality and diversity, and challenge any inequalities or forms of discrimination. Yeah. So it also says that the resources available in this hub are to support teaching professionalism and professional learning, and are not learning and teaching resources for the classroom. By gaining greater knowledge and understanding of all types of bias, teachers can then consider any necessary changes to their learning environment, their employers, policies and practice. So let's see. Oh god. As a teacher, you should be a positive role model for learners, motivating and inspiring them to make the most of their life skills. It is your professional responsibility to strive to ensure everyone feels valued and respected, and to help learners understand the positive impact of an inclusive and forward-thinking society. Some people experience discrimination because they are perceived to be different as a result of prejudice, stereotyping, or oppression. It is your responsibility to highlight the isolating and destructive impact of discrimination and the emotional and mental harm and risk this may cause. Jesus Christ. It is the responsibility of all colleagues in schools to promote and facilitate a culture and ethos of equality and diversity, and to address individual and institutional discrimination. In modelling behaviours that demonstrate your commitment to the promotion of equality and diversity, you will help learners, aka children and teenagers, to understand different views, perspectives and experiences, and develop more positive relationships both within educational establishments and local communities. Embracing equality and diversity. Your professional practice and conduct should promote inclusion and diversity for all. Yeah. What else have we got here? Let's see. All partners should be welcomed and included as part of your learning community, which is free from discrimination and harassment, where everyone values the contributions of all and is set within an inclusive culture and ethos. This should be demonstrated by responding to the needs and experiences and views of all, including those with protected characteristics. Positively embracing equality and diversity means ensuring different views and opinions are present in the classroom, school and beyond. Jesus, man. Bias. Yeah. I'm just not bothering. This is what they want these teachers, obviously, because this is the rules they must follow and adhere to. Read your employer's policies on equality and diversity and ask yourself, and then, do I model inclusive behaviour? Do I reflect the opportunities I offer to others? What are my beliefs and how am I managing them? Oh my god. Am I aware of my own biases and conscious influences, and do I challenge those in interactions to ensure equality for all? Have I accessed continuous professional learning to improve my practice and to develop more effective approaches towards supporting and addressing the wider agenda of equality and diversity? I mean, you get the point. Let's move on, I think. And of course, there's no show without punches there, you know. And this is obviously, this is on their Padlet, you know, just skip through it. Promoting race equality. Let's look at this one too. The National Building Racial Literacy Programme, which is the main crux of my point of contention, if you will. Programme promotes anti-racism, which is critical race theory, as a baseline professional value, empowering educators to identify and implement anti-racist behaviours and processes in their everyday practice with the ultimate goal, this is the point here you need to understand for anybody that doesn't, the ultimate goal of the Building Racial Literacy Programme is to make every educator in Scotland racially literate, which is critical race theory. Racially literate? What the fuck do you think that means? Do people... I'm so sick of people saying, oh, what's wrong with promoting anti-racism and simply teaching children not to be racist? As it says here, anti-racism. What the... Do you not think that sort of contradicts each other? Racially literate anti-racism. But anyway, sorry, the ultimate goal being that they want every educator in Scotland to be racially literate, effective at dealing with racism and confident in leading anti-racism. Every educator. This is the intention, and it's funded by these wankers here, these odious cretins, the Scottish Government, or it was, at least in part, at first. I don't know. What else have we got here? Promoting race equality and anti-racist education. Scotland's schools and curriculum seek to promote and inspire a sense of belonging, inclusion and social justice for learners. And they've taken this directly from the Scottish Government again. Social justice for learners, practitioners and the wider community, with racism of any form has no place in Scotland. And our education system provides an opportunity for the learning, debate and leadership. You know, I love this. Racism, by their logic, has no place in Scotland. Could the argument not be made that while they continuously whine and moan that there's too many Scottish teachers and not enough BAMEs in school, is that not racist in and of itself? To see white people everywhere and have an issue with that? Really think about it. Yeah. They say here that learners have a right to learn in an equitable environment where all cultures, religions, identities and languages are recognised and valued, where the curriculum responds positively to the diverse needs of individual learners as opposed to promoting Scottish culture. And if you want to move to this country and you're not Scottish, it's your fucking problem. But that's always been the problem of the point of contention. That's not enough. Integration's discriminatory, you know? Reflecting the uniqueness of our communities. Oh, they're so unique because they're just not Scottish anymore. Let's see. Increasing and retaining minority ethnic teachers. That's just a joke. This report outlines the progress and challenges faced in implementing the 17 recommendations in the Teaching a Diverse Scotland report, and outlines the work still needed to be undertaken to achieve the aim of a teaching profession which reflects diversity. It's always about reflection. You see, I'll open this quickly. If the recommendations are there, then I'll go through them quickly, but I don't think they will be. They might be though. Leave it with me. So these are obviously old. Just to give you a bit of an idea, the General Teaching Council for Scotland should ensure that race issues are explicitly referenced within the context of inclusion, equality, diversity. Another one is the SBTE should commission a plan to raise awareness of how everyday racism, institutional racism and bias manifest, and obviously who they're going to get in to define what these terms are and how they're defined. You'll get the critical race theorists in, because this is the framework that we're operating from, always have been. By 2019, Education Scotland should update all of their educational leadership programmes to include content that develops understanding of how everyday racism, institutional racism or bias impacts in the workplace. And Education Scotland, of course, now works with Melina, who I started this video off talking about briefly. Local authorities should ensure that the need to recruit and support a diverse workforce is understood by all relevant staff. I mean, it's a fucking joke. It's just a joke. Local authorities should recognise multilingual teachers are valuable members of staff who are capable of enhancing the learning of a wide range of pupils, not just pupils from whom English is an additional language. Local authorities, ITE provider, Schools Development Scotland, the GTCS, Scottish Government and relevant third sector organisations who have experience in this area should take joint action to encourage young minority ethnic people to identify teaching as a profession of choice. It's just... Education Scotland, through its work with Curriculum Resource Group, should ensure that the curricular materials available to teachers better reflect racial diversity and that quality anti-racist resources exist alongside appropriate staff. Oh, fucking hell, man. It just goes on and on. But there was one other thing I seen there. Wait, let her out. Racially illiterates. Yeah. This places immediate responsibility on those engaged in teaching preparation, such as IT providers and those providing... oh wait, sorry, let me show you this quickly. Preparing teachers who are not race evasive. Scotland's BAME ethnic young people are asking for teachers of all stages of education to have the confidence to deliver a curriculum that is anti-racist. In addition, they want a curriculum that does not avoid discussions about Scotland's historic role in slavery. Right? There is also a call for the contributions of Scotland's diverse communities, past and present, non-existent possibly in the past, to be better reflected in the curricula, placing immediate responsibility on those engaged in teaching preparations such as ITE providers and those providing continued professional learning to graduate teachers who are racially illiterate and not race evasive. ITE providers' commitment and action to anti-racist and culturally responsive education for all student teachers is key, with ITE needing to engage proactively with concepts like decolonising the curriculum and what that means for each subject area and for each stage, thereby employing pedagogy as a tool for confronting injustice. Yeah. ITE programs also need to do more on exploring what it means to be and become a teacher for BAMEs. BAME student teachers often report they cannot see themselves in these discussions. You get the point. This parasitical ideology continues to encroach, and if you call it out for what it fucking is, all you will get in response is, why do you hate white BAMEs? It's like, really? That's your point? As she says here, if I can find it, unless it's been deleted now, because this has been open for quite some time. Let me see. Oh, we've got an update. Oh, from Nazut Utamani. Oh, here we go, 26 minutes ago. So, what does she say? What's your here's her fucking hot take, yeah. What's your definition of a Scottish teacher? White, I assume. Who said there should be less Scottish teachers, as you put it? The workforce should properly represent the children it teaches. Why would you have a problem with that? Why would you have a problem with the fact that there's not enough brown and black teachers in the teaching profession? White, I assume. White goes without saying. We're talking about Scottish here. Why don't we have a discussion, Nazut Utamani? Because I've already pulled apart your old shitey articles, and I would make easy meat of you. Easy work indeed. Because you're full of shit. You're disingenuous, you gaslight, and it's a joke. It's a fucking joke. In all honesty, Why? What's your definition of a Scottish teacher? White, I assume. Nah, a Scottish. Take a DNA test. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Who said there should be less Scottish teachers, as you put it? Well, if you're saying that anybody can be Scottish, white or black or brown, right? Then that's how you're able to then ask your second question. That is how you are able to then say, who said there should be less Scottish teachers? But the point is that Scottish and white are one and the same, It goes without saying. What you are doing is advocating for more brown and black. I don't hear you advocate for more Polish teachers. Should there be more Polish teachers in schools? Because there's an ever-growing population of Polish immigrants here. No, that's not what you're advocating for. You're advocating for BAMEs, because that's what this is about, and you fucking know what you're doing. The workforce should properly represent the children it teaches. This is Scotland. I am sorry if little baby BAMEs feel underrepresented by the teachers around them. If anything, it goes to showcase one thing that you people insist consistently is a racist thing to say. Ethnocentrism. They can't see themselves. Maybe you should you should put the reins of responsibility onto the parents that moved to a majority white country. That is the problem of the parents. They knew what they should expect this, should they not? You know, but instead of that, we're fucking browbeaten. And on top of that, you insist that because there isn't enough brown teachers to represent the little baby BAMEs who feel like they're underrepresented, you insist that's racism. You know, you're full of shit. Why would you have a problem with that? Why would you have a problem with schools being full of Scottish teachers? Oh, underrepresentation. At least, yeah? At least. Equal representation, but not limited to. P.S. Not all non-white folk are migrants. Yeah. P.S. There's plenty of white migrants too. And also P.S. BAMEs ain't Scottish. Nor the Polish descendants. Nor the Germans. Nor the fucking English. Oh. Let's see what he says. Yes, this is correct. If someone is Scottish, they descend from a specific group of Northwest European peoples. Diversity means less Scottish people in Scottish jobs. The quicker you understand and accept that the world has always seen humans mixing and moving around, the less painful it will be for you. Is that right? Is that right? The gene pools ain't that diverse. You know? But you can't accept that. Change and evolution is always happening. Get used to it. Yeah, that's right. Get used to it. Get used to the fact you're being taken over by browns. Fuck you.